without the gang involvement in this case, they don't have a death penalty case.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I am here with my 24-karat gold sharks to give you their latest update on the Melly trial. And guess what? And right behind the camera, inspiring me every day, is our content genius, Mr. Michael Rivers. But before we get to that, let's just say life hasn't been easy for me since my basement is basically a hub for a couple of methed-out grandparents. And, while the restraining order isn't really working, I've decided to just try to commit them civilly. So I've taken over with their power of attorney, and I've got it drafted by a lawyer, and guess what we use to do that? I'll just take one guess. We use eSign.com. eSign.com is a very effective way to remotely take over somebody's life with an e-signature. What you do is you download the app, you get 3 free signatures a month, and actually, it's a very effective way to remotely do business. And here's the thing about remotely doing business. You can get things done very quickly. So before your grandparents get the next shipment from Arizona, you can have them committed and take care of your stuff remotely. By doing it remotely, you get things done fast. I use it all the time in my practice when I have somebody say they live out of state or whatever. They can't come into the office for whatever reason. It's an easy way to get the retainer agreement signed, but you can use it for anything. You can use it for a power of attorney. You can use it for a business agreement. Just about any document that you need signed, do it remotely with eSign.com, because if it's not eSign, no one signs. So let's talk about going on in the Melly trial. So remember last week, the state filed a motion to have the gang expert testify with his mask on. There's really no reason to do that in this case. I mean, if he's worried about it getting published, what they did today, first of all, the judge denied their motion, and so he does have to testify without a mask. And one of the things that the defense came up with, he's on Cash App. You just look him up on Cash App, and all of a sudden he's there. His picture is very public. His name is public. So he goes by Danny Polo, and he is super public. And what do you do to ameliorate his concerns about his family, that he's so worried that they're going to get killed? Which nobody wants that to happen. Nobody wants to make light of that. Just don't show his face on camera. I mean, that's a pretty easy fix. But when he's testifying, you have the right to confrontation. And I think I'm not going to go into that whole thing about it, but the Sixth Amendment right to confrontation means you have the right to face your accuser, and it's face-to-face. It's not absolute, but in this case, the judge ruled that their defendant's Sixth Amendment right outweighs the anonymity request by the state. Why is there even a gang expert involved in this case? Why is that important? Well, it is important because the gang expert is part of the reason they're asking for the death penalty. The death penalty in this case is imposed because the allegation is that it's a crime committed for the benefit of a gang. He testified, meaning Danny Polo, testified that YNW is not necessarily a gang. There are gang members in it. Oops, what was that? Danny Polo, the gang expert, testified that YNW is not necessarily a gang. And he also testified that this is not but it does have gang members in it. Within various larger gangs, there are sets, right? So related to Melly is the G-Shine set. And in fact, if you look at this picture, it shows him at the back, I shine, you shine, we all shine, blah, blah, blah. That's why this testimony is so important. So there's a lot of conflicting information to show that Melly wasn't really even a member of the gang at the time. So let's watch a little bit of the testimony from the expert, and then we'll kind of comment.
Okay, in this particular image.
So one of the things that is absolutely notorious in every gang case are photos. Photos where they're holding up gang signs. Because it signifies membership.
To identify the co-defendant, Cortland Henry.
Yes.
So you can see in this photo, you got Melly. You can tell where Melly is, and then Henry's on the far left.
And where is he looking in that one photo?
Can I stand up, Roman?
You can stand up.
Let me see if I can get something to point with, Your Honor. So
It's not touchscreen, right? This time.
that's not so. Okay, so it's not working on that screen on that. So just if you keep your back.
That's
Okay.
actually
Okay. Do you see the individual identified as Jamel Dimmons in this picture?
subject right there. Going
Okay.
up. G-Shine.
The other individuals that are in this photo, were you able to identify them?
Yes.
And who are they?
This is Jamon Mitchell. He was in the email chain sent through the YNW Melly booking Gmail account. This is Jaquan Burton, Q-Shine, or Herc, as saved on the phone. This is Derek Dixon, aka Gino, saved on the 9807 phone number.
And the hand signs and symbols that are being shown, what are they indicative of?
So this hand sign right here, that's a big B for blood. This right here is G-Shine, same hand sign that Melly or Mr. Demons is throwing out. Same hand sign he puts on his music albums and commonly uses. It's a specific hand sign just to.
So those gang signs are really important because, and then it's also important when you show the relationship to the parties and what they call each other. Because it without the gang involvement in this case, they don't have a death penalty case.
G-Shine to the Gangster Killer Bloods. Well, this is a universal hand sign for Bloods. This is universal hand sign for Bloods. This is specific to Gangster Killer Bloods.
Okay, so I'm going to go and scroll down further on that same page, same 39 received.
Thank you.
So I'm going to put that.
See, when people get popped, in a gang case, first thing they do is go through their social media and go through their phones, and guess what they find? A lot of self-snitching.
Closet. The individuals that are identified in this particular live photo / video from the iPhone. Do you recognize those individuals?
Yes, I'm like.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the person on the far left in the black shirt.
That's Courtney.
And here's the other thing. When I say they, the gang strike force, they will have book on everybody. They follow people around. They follow their social media. People get popped, people snitch. So they keep a book on every single person that they possibly can. And they just sit on it for a while until something pops.
Okay, the next individual in the blue shirt with the green stripe and RS on the front of it.
Mr. Demons.
Now look how small Melly is. I mean, he's a little fella.
The photo with the long threads, the gray jacket, black pants.
I believe that's track.
Okay. Are there gang signs or symbols that are being shown in this particular image?
Well, the colors, some of them are wearing the color red, and then you have Mr. Demons throwing out GKB with one hand, and the other hand just east side. Those are two signs.
Okay. The Chicago Bulls hat in the background, is that something that's associated with a blood gang?
Yeah.
And they'll take things that are innocuous, like a bull's hat, and it may or may not be. It could be just that. It could be just a bull's hat. One of the things that the defense did is the defense showed a clip of Serena Williams doing the Crip walk. They said, is she in the Crips? And so a lot of people like to emulate gangs and gang culture that aren't necessarily in gangs.
Blood gang members
typically wear Red Chicago Bulls outfits. Mob Pyru, Blood gang members typically wear that a little more because it's similar to one of their symbols, which...
The thing I don't like about the gang expert testimony is they get a lot of freaking latitude. They get a lot of latitude about things that may be innocent behavior, but all of a sudden they associate it with gangs.
The subject in the white shirts going up, so the Mob Pyru, because it makes an M.
Mob
I
Pyru.
apologize. And then the subject's obviously wearing all red. This is one of the subjects in the pictures wearing almost all red. Mr. Dennis is wearing plenty of red shoes.
And he's wearing blue too. And he's wearing some white.
Red highlights on the shirt with some green.
Okay. So I'm going to go forward and publish, and that was, for the record, image_0162.mob. So I'm going to go and publish image_0300.mob.
Yeah, you see that shit, you know what I'm saying? Some motherfuckers, that shit, hit chill, where I shot some nigga Wiz. See the YW? See the, you took a rip. Big edgy shit, man. You niggas, you know the niggas, you feel me? Gonna act full of that snow.
That was in Minnesota. He was at a Timberwolves game. And we'll show you that here at the Timberwolves game and see him being on the Jumbotron throwing up gang signs.
Did you recognize that person?
Mr. Demons.
And last but not least, image278.mob.
No regrets for the shit I did. That also mean for the niggas out. Yeah. 4:30 a.m. Never say when.
Now here's the thing. This is one of the reasons why gang experts testify, because who the fuck knows what he's saying? I mean, nobody knows. I mean, especially white suburbia, because that's who your jurors are typically going to be, right? But he can go on to say, oh, this is what he's saying, and he can really expand on it. And
Detective Malone asks, are you a Kevin Gates fan?
Yeah, I'm a Kevin Gates fan.
he's a Kevin Gates fan. That's a little sus, don't you think?
Does the Kevin Gates song 4:30 AM include the lyrics "Never Say When"?
I believe so.
Does it say both of them? So, continuing on.
So she's trying to use this to say that he basically is self-snitching right there. You know, both of them.
On to go through some of the other photos that are now as part of this exhibit.
And it's not enough to show that he's got some gang affiliation. It's not enough to show that somehow he's in a gang. She has to link it up to say this was a crime for the benefit of a gang. And if for the state's theory to really work here, the crime has to be for the benefit of the gang, not for the individual. Now, if we remember what this dispute was about, it's about the YNW brand. It was about the sale of the brand, about a distribution of $200,000. And with those guys removed, guess what? That's for the benefit of Melly individually, not necessarily for the benefit of a gang.
Can you identify the individual as Mr. Demons in this photo?
Yes, subject wearing green with the name Melvin written on his tracksuit.
And is he showing
Sorry.
is he putting up any signs or signals that would be associated with a criminal gang?
Objection, Your Honor. That's not a gang sign at all. That's two in the pink and one in the stink.
Yeah, just the east side.
Okay.
It does sort of look like that, doesn't it?
Going into image 160.
And these are all, you see, it's an extraction report from Celebrate. That's what this is. This is all about what's coming off their phones.
.jpg. What are we looking at here?
That's a really commonly used blood hand sign, spelled out blood, B-L-O-O-D, using both hands.
And who did that? I mean, whose hands were those?
This image, who are we looking at in this image?
So Mr. Demons using both hands to throw up the big B's for blood.
And is this the same jacket from the previous photo?
Yes. At least it appears to be. It was a lot more zoomed in.
Moving on to the next image here. What is shown in this photo?
It's Mr. Demons putting a big B up to his forehead.
I mean, this does get a little tedious, but the reason it's important for the state's case is because the stakes are so high, and they try to present this message over and over and over again. And repetition in a criminal trial is very common for the state to go over things over and over again.
In terms of the one we're looking at here, image underscore 0194.png. What is this?
That's the same photograph located on the phone, the document forwarded to him.
And in terms of in going through the phone, did you see numerous screen captures like this?
Yeah, there's a lot, like more than what I can count at this point. I went through thousands of images. It's a lot of screenshots of FaceTimes with Mr. Demons on the small camera with the camera function to switch the camera, showing that he's the one holding that phone that is screenshotting the picture.
So keep in mind, the ownership of that phone is an issue in this trial. Without that, remember all the location data that they had. That's why this is important, because it shows that Melly is FaceTiming somebody, and that's a screenshot. And you can do that just by mistake. And so there's so much information. And you think you deleted something off your phone? You didn't delete it off your phone. Every time a picture shows up, there's a little tiny image that's embedded in your phone, and it's always going to be there, even if you reset your phone.
Image1.jpg. Are there common handshakes and gestures that are done between different members of Bloods to acknowledge one another?
Yes.
Going on to this image, is Mr. Demons doing any hand signs in this one?
It's kind of blurry. I can't really tell what he's doing in his hand.
Objection, Your Honor. And they give these gang experts way too much latitude, and at least in this one, he didn't try to guess what he was doing. It's been a long day of testimony. The gang strike force expert was testifying about a lot of gang signs, a lot of affiliation, a lot of text messages with Sack Chaser and all this, somebody calling him Ansari, which is a term for a leader in a gang, kind of like a general or thereabouts, or so that's what he says. And so it is interesting to show two things. One, it was a crime committed for the benefit of the gang, and number two, it was also to show ownership of the phone, because you saw many pictures there that are on his phone, either selfies or conversation that he was having. So stakes are super high in this case. It's a double homicide death penalty case. Now, I know I've said in the past that I really thought that Bortland's going to testify, and I know that Bortland's giving a lot of props out to Melly. The things you got to realize, they're in trial for a long time, and it's not always heavy moments. When the medical examiner is going to testify, there will be a lot of outbursts from the audience, I would bet. There's going to be crying in the jury, or at least, very serious. You could be able to hear a pin drop. But check this out. This is just kind of interesting. So he's vibing there, and his lawyers are smiling. And here's the thing. Jury obviously is not present for that. And they're not playing his video in this trial. They made a decision about that. But you really got to be careful. You got to be careful because everything you do, the jury is watching. And they overjudge. So you really have to be careful to make them think that you are taking the case seriously. Because any misperception by the jury is going to be held against the party that's causing it. So if he's laughing and he's not serious about this, they're going to think that he didn't really give a shit, and they're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. As opposed to if he's overly, it's really kind of an art to be able to figure out exactly what the jury's thinking. One of the things I love about my staff is I try a lot of cases with my paralegal. She's able to watch the jury and kind of connect with the jury and actually read their body language. And I can't do that because I got to focus on the witness and, the evidence that we're dealing with. So she's able to watch the jury, and that is really an art in and of itself because your message hopefully is getting through. So this has just been our reaction to a Melly update. We'll keep you posted on as we go through the week of trial. So I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, along with content genius Michael Rivers. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?